Okay, what's up, guys? It's Over the Top Talk. Um, this is one of our first, video live streams, so we're excited to do it. We were supposed to be
Yeah.
joined here by our good friend William, but he couldn't make it, so it's just gonna be us two. Um, Topic today is who is gonna dethrone every current WWE champion. Let me just get that loaded across the screen here,
Yeah.
and we'll
Yeah. Yeah.
begin. Okay.
All right.
Um, I say we start with the NXT Tag Team Champions. We got the Wolf Dogs. What are your thoughts on who's gonna dethrone them?
Well, they're relatively new as being tag team champions. Just 2 weeks ago, they dethroned Tony D'Angelo and Stacks, to become the new NXT tag team champions. I don't think their tag team run is going to be that long because obviously, Braun Breaker just being called up to the main roster, signing to SmackDown. Um, I think they're going to have a few matches beforehand, but I can see maybe Chase U possibly getting a two-time run, or maybe even Axiom. Maybe they can dethrone them, but I can see their run maybe lasting about a month or so before they drop the belts.
Yep. Obviously being new champions, obviously with Braun, like you said, going up to the main roster. Obviously, we don't know how long they're gonna have the belts, but I do see Chase U being an option. Um,
Yeah,
just because they're a very established team already. But yeah, I I'm curious where they're gonna place Baron Corbin. Maybe he'll go up to the main roster. I don't know, but yeah, I think
yeah,
that's gonna be a short title run. But moving
yeah,
on, we got one of our more dominant champions, Oba Femi, North
yeah,
American
yeah.
champion.
Mhm.
Who do you think's gonna dethrone him?
Well, it was predicted that Lexus King was going to dethrone him. We all thought because he's, relatively new to the company. We thought him and Obafemi were going to have a huge match, maybe like a PLE match, but we just saw last week that Obafemi beat Lexus King in 5 minutes to open the show up. So obviously that's not going to be it. So I still think it's too early in his run to determine who's going to dethrone him. But for options, maybe Dragon Lee again if they want to rebuild him up, or maybe throw a title on Trick. Maybe do that. I'm not sure, but there's really nobody yet that I think you can put a finger on to dethrone Oba because he's still so new. He's had less than 10 matches in the company and already a champion. So I think we got to let it play out a little bit more to see who can dethrone him. I still think it's way too early.
And I just have a quick question. Do you obviously we've seen in the past Dominic Mysterio, having that belt. With
Mm.
him on the main roster, we saw him lose against Kevin Owens. Do you think Dominic Mysterio is a possible option to take that title away, or do you think he's too established now to go back down NXT?
No, I think Dominic. I think he's staying on the main roster from now on. I think maybe we'll see him on NXT, for a one-time appearance, but I don't think he's staying down there anymore at all. I think he's gonna predominantly stay on Raw with the Judgment Day until they fall apart. But I think he's gonna be a big player up there with Rhea Ripley and stuff. I don't see him going back down.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. And what you said about um, Femi as well. So with that, we can move on to our women's NXT champion, Lyra Volkera. Um, Obviously, she won the title off Becky Lynch a while back. Do you see anyone in her path that you think's can dethrone her?
Yeah, I actually do. So, there's been many occasions where we thought Lara Valkyria was gonna lose the title. She's been champion for a while now. Becky Lynch has been back on the main roster. She's been doing her thing. She's kind of been thrown into the world title picture with Rhea Ripley. She really hasn't been down there a lot. So other champions, other people trying to get championships have been going up against Lara Valkyria. Obviously, we saw that triple threat match at Vengeance Day. Try to get her championship. She regained. Um, and just this past week, we saw her take on Shotzi. Hope she gets better soon. Obviously, we saw her take that really bad injury to her knee. She's out for 9 months now, unfortunately. That's pretty rough for
Yeah,
her.
that's unfortunate.
But I think someone that can dethrone her is actually Roxanne Perez. If you know, she lost her title, but she never got pinned for it. She never lost that title officially. She got it stripped off of her, and ever since then, she's kind of had this tick on her shoulder a little bit, to get that championship back. And for the past few weeks now, we've been seeing like a heel side of Roxanne Perez that we've never seen before. Um, I think in the upcoming weeks, I think they can rebuild her up. They can show this dark side of her even more. And I think at maybe Stand and Deliver, maybe we wait until then. Um, I think we can see a totally heel side of Roxanne Perez take on Lara Valkyria, and I think we see her take the title off of her, and Roxanne Perez being your new NXT Women's Champion.
Yep. Obviously, all thoughts. My pick was originally Shotzi until she got that injury out 9 months now. So
Hmm.
obviously, we all hope she heals, and maybe when she gets back, she'll obviously be back in that title race. But for now, moving on to the men's champion, we got Dragonov. I have some
Yeah.
thoughts on this. Obviously, the feud between Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams obviously just began. So
Hmm.
my theory for this is they're gonna have Carmelo Hayes win the title from Dragonov, and then Trick Williams is gonna make his return, and we'll see a match between them, possibly at Stand and Deliver, and then
Hmm.
we'll see Trick Williams take the title off of Hayes because I think Trick. Obviously, we've seen him with the crowd. They love him, so he deserves a title definitely. So I think
Hmm.
Trick Williams is the right guy to have that title.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And Ilya Dragunov has been down at NXT he's been down there for a real long time now, like a real long time, even back since the NXT UK days, having him fighting Gunther and stuff. I think right now he's just being used as a tool, to put over other people. I think I totally agree with you saying about Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. Carmelo Hayes obviously being heel now, turning on Trick Williams. Um, I think what you said in the upcoming weeks, I think maybe even next month, we're going to see Carmelo take the championship off of Dragunov, and at Stand and Deliver, we're going to see Trick versus Carmelo. And also adding on to that, I think we're going to see Ilya Dragunov get called up to the main roster. He's really due for that. They got to build him up throughout the summer and stuff. Maybe an appearance at Bash in Berlin, match against Gunther, maybe, but we'll see what happens. Yep.
Yep, I agree with all those points. And obviously, yeah, Dragunov does deserve to come up to the roster. He's been in NXT for like a long time now.
Hmm.
Um, and I think we're finished with NXT for now. We'll move on to the women's um, WWE Tag Team Championships with obviously um, who do you think's gonna dethrone Asuka?
Um, well, we saw the Kabuki Warriors, defeat Katana Chance and Caden Carter a few weeks back on Raw. Um, they've been kind of not defending their championships a lot. They've had like maybe one or two. times defending it. Um, I think there's a few options that can take the championships off her. Of them, I think you can give it back to Katana Chance and Caden Carter. That's a possible outcome, having them a rematch. Or the one that I favor the most is maybe seeing, Bailey and Dakota Kai teaming up to fight the Kabuki Warriors, damage control, civil war type thing. I think we could see that happening. Or maybe the witches can have a crack at it. Maybe they can do it. Or that's really it. The only other one that I could really see doing it is after that, like a possible option would be maybe Chelsea Green and Piper Niven get it back, but I think that's about it. I don't really see any other teams kind of being in that main event picture like that.
Yeah, my thoughts on obviously the I think we have a problem with the women's tag team division in general because obviously there's so like there's not a lot of them, and obviously like if you're first in line and you lose, it's kind of like you're just gonna keep getting chances just because there's not really like a lot of tag team champions or tag teams in general for the women's. Obviously, we saw Liv and Raquel for a little bit, but obviously they're not really. I wouldn't say together. So yeah, I do see Bailey and Dakota being that option with there being so few tag teams just in that division in general. And um, maybe eventually this championship might not even exist just because there's not a lot of those teams. I don't know
Yeah,
if you would
yeah,
agree with me on this one, but
yeah, I do slightly. I do because I think they're due for a rebuild. I think they got to really rebuild the women's division. As we saw, they kind of got rid of the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. Um, so if we can get more of a stacked roster for the tag team, I think we can really see that division thrive more than we have for the past few weeks.
yeah, of course. Also with if they have Bailey and Dakota end up winning, would you like to see Bailey as like a like if she wins against EO, would you like to see Bailey have like two titles?
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. Bailey's been putting in a lot of hard work for the past better part of 2 years now with damage control. Um, she's been a workhorse. She's been carrying that team. She's been doing some really good storytelling, and I think maybe her by having being a double champ, maybe she can really show her skills of being a champion. We haven't seen her be a champion in a long time, and I think it's a good reward for her to get two belts.
Yeah, definitely. Bailey, I think's deserved it for a while. Obviously, she was in damage control for a while. They were kind of like up using her as like kind of abusing her in a way. Obviously, she was the reason um, their team lost that 5v5 match, and I just feel like they used her the whole time she was in there. So I'm glad she's a part of or apart from that now. Obviously, with
Hmm.
Dakota Kai kind of being on, I don't know if you trust her or not, but um, obviously she does seem to be on Bailey's side. I am excited to see
Hmm.
where that storyline ends up going, and I do hope we see a tag team battle between the two sides because I
Yeah,
think that's what the fans want, and it'd be a very fun match to see. But
yeah.
also where if they were to have that match, would you want it to be on like a SmackDown WrestleMania, like after WrestleMania, like
Um, I think I think it's kind of given now that we all think that Bailey is going to dethrone Io at WrestleMania to become the women's champion. You know, um, I think it's only right beforehand to give them the tag team belts. Maybe to go into WrestleMania with already having the tag team championships. and then she can win the belt off Io and become that double champ at WrestleMania. I think that'd be a really, really big moment for her. Um, I don't know if we see a turn, maybe we see a Dakota Kai turn on her. Um, but I think at WrestleMania is the best spot for her to win like the actual women's championship. But then beforehand is when the tag team championships. So she can have that huge WrestleMania moment.
Yep, and um, obviously a lot of people are excited to see where or where Bailey's storyline goes, but I guess we can touch upon that later on. But for now, we can move on to our men's tag team champions. We have Damian Priest and Finn Balor. Obviously, have a big match at the Chamber. Do you think they survive this Saturday?
Yeah, I do. I think there's still more storytelling to tell with um, Damian Priest and Finn Balor and the whole Judgment Day. I think it's going to be a really close match. Maybe we'll see a couple of close falls. We'll see maybe we'll see the Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate get really close to winning the belts. But I think there's a possibility our Truth gets involved in the match, maybe to help the Judgment Day win, even though he's not a part of them. He's been told that many times. Um, I believe this like wholeheartedly. I know you might not believe it, but I think we see the awesome Truth. I think we see our Truth and the Miz dethrone the Judgment Day at WrestleMania. Because first off, the feud that's been going on, our Truth with the whole Judgment Day, it's been going on for a better part of a month now. And then we have the Miz, who's our Truth's best friend. Um, yeah, it only makes sense to give them the championships. I think that's what we're gonna see.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with that. Obviously, we've seen the Miz and our Truth since the Rumble. Obviously, being on the same page. We also saw Truth obviously call Kevin Owens. He thought Kevin Owens was the Miz. We've seen just many times where our Truth is like looking for the Miz, and obviously they have that friendship. So yeah, I do see that, and I think it should happen at Mania. And I would love to see our Truth have a title just because I think he deserves it. The
Hmm.
fans love him. Obviously, it's like impossible to hate him unless you're the Judgment Day. So I think that definitely is an option for WrestleMania. I don't see any other tag
Hmm.
team um, taking them down as of right now. Obviously, I do think we'll start to see that feud this Saturday. Whether our Truth helps them win or just does something in the match to like try to cost them. But yeah, I do want to see our Truth and Miz hold the titles because I think they've been in the company a while. I think they deserve it more than anyone really in that division.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And moving on to our next champion, we got the United States champion Logan Paul. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, we saw Logan Paul, become the U.S. champion, beating Rey Mysterio at Crown Jewel, right? And he's been a champion ever since then. He's only had like one defense of it. It's been kind of crazy. Maybe two, like two defenses. He hasn't really had a lot of matches with it. Um, I think there's two options they can go with. Two that make sense. One that doesn't really make sense. So there's three in total. Let's start off with the first one. The one that doesn't make sense is Rey Mysterio coming back for it. Maybe he'll feel like he got snubbed of his championship. Maybe he feels like he deserves another crack at it in a fair match, and he comes back and challenges Logan Paul again. That's the one that makes the least sense. Secondly, would be Kevin Owens. Obviously, we saw Kevin Owens get disqualified. Using the brass knuckles, getting caught by the referee. Um, Maybe he wants a rematch at the championship, trying to get some gold again. I could really see that happening possibly. But the one that I think makes the most sense, and we all think makes the most sense, is LA Knight. LA Knight's been working really hard. He hasn't had a championship yet in the company. Him and Logan Paul actually, they had their little rivalry going on before Money in the Bank. They have history together. So seeing that feud reignite, maybe in the chamber, they're both in the elimination chamber. We can see LA Knight kind of start a little feud with Logan Paul the other way around. And then at Mania, maybe we'll see a match for it, and we'll finally get LA Knight as a champion. He can elevate that title crazily. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I'd put my money on LA Knight too, obviously from Money in the Bank last year. He was the fan favorite to win. Obviously, Damian Priest ended up winning, but from there, I think he's, you know, completely over with the fans now. We saw him
Hmm.
against Roman. That feud was very good. We saw him in the four-way match just recently. Obviously, didn't win that because Roman, retained once again. But yeah, I think Logan will lose to Knight at Mania, and I hope this feud begins in the chamber. Maybe like LA Knight pins Logan Paul or vice versa. But I do think this feud is gonna start to boil back up once the chamber match is over. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Hmm.
But I think LA Knight deserves it more than obviously Logan Paul has the athletic ability. He's a very good champion. He just hasn't defended it um
Hmm.
like too much. I think like you said, like maybe like a couple times. But
Hmm.
with obviously we both agree on LA Knight. Where do you like if LA Knight ends up winning, would there be any like feuds that you would want to see him in like right away once he wins that belt?
Oh yeah. The feud with AJ Styles. That feud's been still brewing up. It hasn't come to a closure yet. We've seen LA Knight cost AJ Styles a match, and I think we're gonna see him cost him the Elimination Chamber. Um, I think we see LA Knight beat Logan Paul, and then going on a little bit to Money in the Bank and to SummerSlam. I think we'll see a few more matches with LA Knight versus AJ Styles for the belt. I think that's one good match we'll see. Maybe we'll see him fight Kevin Owens. I think this chamber has an opportunity not to only give someone a crack at Seth Rollins' title, but I think the United States Championship is going to get built off of it too. And I think we can see the winner, which is of the U.S. belt, maybe LA Knight. We'll see him have a whole bunch of new feuds because you know the chamber is stacked this year. We have Bobby Lashley, we got Kevin Owens, we have McIntyre, we have Orton, we have the list goes on. And I think seeing LA Knight in some of those feuds would be awesome, especially with a belt.
Yeah, obviously, I do want to see that AJ Styles match happen, just because we obviously saw that's the reason AJ Styles like isn't in this tournament or chamber, I should say. But
Hmm.
yeah, I do think AJ Styles is that possible opponent if everything comes into play and LA Knight does end up getting his match and wins. But yeah,
Hmm.
I definitely do agree with all of your points on um, where LA Knight's path will go from the chamber and on. And I think the fans obviously have wanted him to have something. They want him to have the Money in the Bank. Obviously, the title with Roman obviously wasn't going to come off of him. I think we all knew that. But I think
Hmm.
him winning the United States title would give us finally that closure of him being able to have like a title, even if it's like a smaller championship. Actually, it's not really a smaller champ. I feel like it's like the starter championship, kind of, just because the amount of greats we've seen win it, like Cena, obviously. So yeah, I do think that title's a good starting point for him, even though he's kind of later in his career. So
Yeah, yeah,
um, with that, we'll move on to our Intercontinental Championship, or champion Gunther. Obviously, has had a very successful reign. Who do you
yeah.
think is going to be that man that finally like puts it away?
Well, there's a lot of options to possibly do it. We all thought it was going to be possibly Sheamus. We saw it last year at WrestleMania, and before that at Clash at the Castle. That's the one championship that Sheamus has never won to make him that Grand Slam champion. Um, I think he's still a really big option that could win it. He should be coming back from injury pretty soon. So I think he can possibly dethrone him. Um, Another good option might be Braun Breaker. At WrestleMania, we were supposed to see Gunther versus, big UFC guy. I'm not going to say his name, but maybe we'll see Braun Breaker, come in, do some like big work on Gunther, possibly dethrone him, win the belt, and that can kind of start Braun Breaker's journey off as as a certified main eventer going forward. They're gonna push him as hard as they can to get that main event spot as quick as possible. And I think by giving him that belt can not only elevate the company, but also elevate him as a superstar. And a bunch of people are going to want to come after that belt. They're going to want that prestige that Gunther made it. He made that belt extremely high up in the company, almost as valuable as the World Heavyweight Championship, which Seth Rollins made it, and obviously Roman Reigns making the Universal Championship. So I say Sheamus is the most likely option, but I think a very close second is Braun Breaker.
Yeah, obviously we've seen with Sheamus, he's been tweeting a lot. I think he's very close to returning. We saw him. I think he made a comment towards Gunther when he reached 500 days that he was going to come for his title again. And I do
Hmm.
think Sheamus, obviously that's the last title he really like needs. So I do think he deserves to win that.
Hmm.
Obviously, whenever he returns, maybe it's soon. Maybe we'll see him, the match at Mania. Another option, obviously, like you said, Braun Breaker, I think would deserve it. Obviously, we saw the stare down at the Rumble. I think it's like two
Hmm.
powerhouses, so I think that's a definite option. A third, obviously, probably the lowest likely would be Chad Gable from me. I think they've had some very great matches, and I think they would put on a show once again if
Hmm.
that were to be the Mania match. Obviously, I'm very curious what the Mania match is going to look like. Hopefully, it's Sheamus. Maybe it'll be Braun. Maybe Chad Gable. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll see like another triple threat, but I don't know where it's going to go. But yeah, I'd definitely put
Yeah.
Sheamus at the top of the list.
Yeah, I almost forgot to mention that. You actually reminded me. Chad Gable was a very, very large option. And like we just saw, he beat Ivar. Yeah, maybe this is the push back up we need. Maybe this is the rebuild of Chad Gable to finally go after that IC title again. So yeah, I like that option too.
Yeah, obviously fans will start to, obviously he's not going to be at the chamber because of travel issues, but that was a very good match against Jay. Obviously Jay's that's not he's just not going to win because obviously he has his feud with Jimmy now, but hopefully we'll see soon what the feud will look like for Gunther heading into Mania, so definitely
Hmm.
excited for that.
Yeah, me too.
But
Me too.
um moving off of Gunther, we got the SmackDown Women's Champion Io Sky. We touched upon it earlier, having it be Bailey.
Hmm.
Do you think there's any? Actually, never mind. Um, who? obviously we know now that's gonna be Bailey versus Io.
Hmm.
Do you think do you think Bailey's gonna end up ending her reign? Obviously, it's been like 200 days. I think she's defended her title like once. So do you think Bailey's gonna end her like long but short reign?
Yeah, I do. I think it's time to. No offense to Io. I love Io. She's a really good performer on the ring. She's great. She puts on really good matches, but like you said, she hasn't really defended the title at all. She's kind of been in segments recently. She hasn't really had any matches. It's been quite a bit. So yeah, I think it's about time for her to lose the belt, and I think Bailey is the perfect fit. And they can possibly keep that feud running. They can keep it going on. Bailey and Damage Control, they can keep that match and that feud on until maybe SummerSlam or even after that. So I think Bailey is the best option.
Yep, I definitely do agree. Obviously, I also don't mind Io being champion. I just don't think she deserves it more than Bailey would, especially in a WrestleMania. Whenever or that match will probably be on night one, but I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. But I do see Bailey winning as well. Um,
Hmm.
obviously, I think she's starting to turn from her heel to face once again, and I loved her as a face before. Obviously, as her heel character, she did very well, but I think her in this face stage once again will obviously. I think the fans want to see that, so I think seeing a face Bailey win a title is what everyone wants to see. Obviously, we both want to see it, so it's definitely gonna be fun watching that
Yeah,
match. Obviously, um, the feud's already sparked, so we'll see where it goes the next couple weeks with that.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that, and I can't wait.
Um, with that, our someone who's defending her belt, the Raw Women's Championship, Rhea, obviously Saturday morning, I should say, not night. She'll be defending against Nia Jax. Do you think Nia Jax
Hmm.
is the one to dethrone her? Do you think the winner of the Elimination Chamber will be the one to dethrone her?
Um, I think Nia Jax has a 0% chance of beating Rhea Ripley. I think
Yeah.
absolutely 0% chance. There's no way that she does. If she somehow beats Rhea Ripley, all right, I'm gonna go play the lottery because the chances of that happening are slim to none at all. Um, I think there's a possibility that the winner of the chamber doesn't even beat her. I think her championship run has been so dominant and so she's been, like people said, the most dominant woman in this business and we've seen in like maybe ever. She's elevated the title crazily. She's been probably the best champion we've ever seen. So they could even carry this on until SummerSlam later on. But say if she does lose at WrestleMania, I think the person to dethrone her is Becky Lynch. We've seen Becky Lynch and Rhea go back and forth on Raw with Nia Jax obviously getting involved. We've seen that happening for weeks now. Um, I think another option that could be that is Bianca Belair. Her and Becky Lynch are kind of even for me. They're kind of tied. Um, Obviously, they both have tremendous star power. They're both superstars. They're both the top of their game right now. So I think it can go either way, but I think the edge goes slightly towards Becky Lynch.
Yeah, obviously we both agree on her successfully defending her title this Saturday, and I do think Becky Lynch will be that person that goes on to Mania to face her. It's obviously
Hmm.
been a match they've been avoiding. Obviously, we've seen all like the stare downs. Becky Lynch moved to a whole different show to avoid the whole feud thing beginning. So I think they've been saving this match for a while. Um,
Hmm.
I do think it will be the WrestleMania card. And I think it's going to be a very good match between the two.
Hmm.
Um,
Um, Yeah. I actually have a question for you. Do you think in any way we see a triple threat match at WrestleMania for that belt? Any way? Um,
Possible.
reason reason being, because Jade Cargo got pulled out of the chamber match, you know. So do you think we can possibly see maybe Bianca Belair getting squeezed in that match somehow? Or maybe Nia Jax wants a revenge. Maybe she gets involved in the match. Like, do you think it's possible at all?
Um, Obviously with Bianca, it's hard, obviously, because Bianca Belair, I think she's 3-0 now at Mania, so obviously she is gonna be on the WrestleMania card no matter what. I just don't think they're gonna squeeze her in that match just because I feel like they need that to be a one-on-one between Rhea and Becky Lynch to really prove who's the more dominant female. So yeah, I don't think
Hmm.
that'll be a triple threat match.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it because, there's a lot of, the women's roster is stacked right now. It's crazy stacked. And I think it would be good to showcase more than just, there's like four women's matches happening right now that are confirmed. Well, four women involved in the matches, two matches, two championship matches at Mania. Um, so I think in any way they can fit more to showcase them at Mania would be a good, maybe a tag team match, like a bigger tag team match, something like that. So I think just any way to showcase them would be good.
Yeah, obviously we can move on to champions. I just have a quick question. Do you think if Bianca doesn't win the Elimination Chamber or gets her match, do you think we see her getting a match with Jade possibly, even though they've been kind of obviously they removed Jade from the Elimination Chamber. So do you think it's a possibility we see a Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill?
Yeah, I think I think it's almost guaranteed that we see that. They haven't really got to showcase Jade Cargill. They pulled her out of the chamber match because they didn't want her taking a pinfall this early on in her career.
Yeah.
She just got there. She's only had the Royal Rumble to showcase herself. I think her first actual match should be before WrestleMania. It should be on a Raw or a SmackDown. But I think WrestleMania would be a good spot for her to possibly, showcase all of her skills. And if she can get a win over Bianca, break that 3-0 streak, she can become a main eventer at that point. She can become the top of the card. She can go after championships. She can go after other main eventers. So I think having her defeat Bianca at WrestleMania will elevate her career tremendously, and she can be a top star going forward from now.
Yeah, obviously, I think everyone hopes to see this feud start. Obviously, two powerhouse females, with Bianca's undefeated streak on the line. I think having
Hmm.
Jade take her down would really push her forward, like you said. So yeah, I definitely do want to see Jade on like a Raw or SmackDown before. I think we'll see her on possibly SmackDown if they want to start the feud with her and Bianca. But yeah, I do want to see a
Yeah.
match between, or not between the two, I guess, but I do want to see the feud start on like a
Hmm.
SmackDown, not just throw her into a WrestleMania match. Obviously, the biggest pay per view of the year. So I definitely
Yeah.
can't wait to see Jade in a match and finally in a feud after her being signed and not really seeing a lot of her. So
Yeah.
I guess moving back with the champions, we got two left. We'll start with our world heavyweight. We got Seth Rollins. Um,
Hmm.
Obviously, his opponent we'll see this Saturday. Um,
Hmm.
who do you think is going to come out of the chamber? Obviously, Drew's like the heavy favorite, but do you think Drew's going to be that guy that actually does win and go to Mania?
All right. Well, we can go on about this one for like hours and hours because
Yeah,
there's so much to this, you know. Seth Rollins becoming champion, back at Night of Champions, becoming the first ever World Heavyweight Champion. Well, the new World Heavyweight Champion, defeating AJ Styles for that. Um, there's so many options they can go with this. Um, and we've seen so many different change ups, leading up to this. Obviously, we saw CM Punk return at Survivor Series. You know, him and Seth Rollins were already going to be thrown into a feud with each other. We were already going to see Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. And that was going to be a WrestleMania match. But obviously, CM Punk tearing his tricep, not being on the show, which that left fans really concerned. They thought, are they not going to have anything for Seth Rollins to do? No match with Seth Rollins or anything like that. And then we see Seth Rollins, tear his knee beforehand, uh, completely just tear his ACL and meniscus. Everyone was terrified we weren't going to see Seth Rollins on WrestleMania. But then we get the announcement that the Chamber is going to be the winner of that is going to face Seth Rollins. But then we have Cody Rhodes coming in saying he might choose Seth Rollins to be his champion, to be his opponent. That had fans going crazy too. Obviously Seth Rollins being defeated by Cody Rhodes 3 times prior back in 2022. That left fans on the edge of their seat. But now Cody Rhodes choosing Roman Reigns, we have to go off of the Chamber. And the Chamber is stacked with main eventers. Anyone in that match would be a great match to see against Seth Rollins. And almost all of them have history with him. We've seen Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley before. We've seen Seth versus Kevin Owens. We've seen Seth versus Logan Paul. We've seen Seth versus McIntyre. We've seen all these matches before. Only person we haven't seen is LA Knight, but he's probably going to go off to face Logan Paul. So I think the best option is going to be Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre has rebuilt his entire character. He's had a huge rebuild, going heel, obviously. Attacking Sami Zayn, attacking him, knocking him out of action. He was out for almost a month with his ankle injury. So I think the option that you can have is Drew McIntyre to defeat Seth Rollins, become the World Heavyweight Champion. But I think it's only going to last about 30 seconds. He's going to have his little celebration. But I think we're going to have Damian Priest come out, cash in his money in the bank at WrestleMania. And I think he is going to walk out of WrestleMania as your new World Heavyweight Champion.
Yep, obviously, I do agree with you. I do think Drew's going to win the Elimination Chamber and go to Mania. I think that's obviously what they're building up to the last couple weeks with Drew's new, heel persona. Yeah, walking into Mania, I do think it's that match is going to happen, like you said. Obviously, with Priest and Finn possibly. Say it's I think the night one is going to be the tag team, but I guess it doesn't matter. So I think if we do see Damian drop the titles, I do think we will see a cash, and I think it's finally time for him to cash. And we've seen a lot of failures with his cash-ins because a couple of the times were because of Drew McIntyre. So I do think getting that little bit of revenge against Drew, having Drew get the pin, finally beating Seth, thinks he has a title for the first time since 2020, and then gets it ripped away from him because of Priest. I think that would line up a very good feud between Priest and Drew McIntyre.
Well, yeah, I agree with that, but for the past few weeks, I've actually been seeing another thing going around too, and I want to ask you, do you agree with it? For the past couple of weeks on Raw, we've seen those little segments of Sami Zayn. He's just sitting in the chair. He's saying like he He's the underdog. He's been always seen as the underdog. He's always been like doubted his entire career and all that. And he wants to prove to the world that he is a main eventer. He can be the top of the card. So, do you think we can possibly see the triple threat match? We see Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn, because obviously they have so much history. All three of them, um, Drew McIntyre obviously having a bunch of problems with Sami Zayn and having all of his issues with um with Seth Rollins, and Sami Zayn having history with Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. So all three men have a lot of chemistry, and it would make sense if the triple threat match happens at WrestleMania. So do you see that possibly happening?
Yeah, obviously we have seen Zayn take a lot of losses. We've seen him also call himself, or he believes he's the world heavyweight champion, even though he physically is, and he mentally believes that.
Hmm.
Leading up, we've obviously the only problem I would have with the triple threat is if they do that. Obviously we've seen the feud with him and Nakamura. Do you think that would end before Mania, or do you think him and Nakamura are still going to be feuding um, leading up to Mania? Maybe we see that on like a pre-show or something. I don't know.
Um, I personally hope that it's over before Mania. Obviously, no offense to Nakamura at all, because he's a great performer. He's great in the ring, but we can date back a little bit to when he was in the feud with Seth Rollins. We were all hoping that feud was going to end. We were getting tired of it. It was kind of dragging on for a little bit too long. So I hope that they don't drag the feud on that long with Nakamura. I feel like I feel like a feud with them is kind of like not really going to happen. I think it's going to lead into the Drew story, because obviously Drew McIntyre causing the loss against Nakamura for Sami Zayn, distracting him in the ring. So I think we see maybe one more match with them, but I think after that, I think Sami Zayn wins that match. We see him focus completely on Drew McIntyre and coming after the World Championship with Seth Rollins.
Yep, obviously, um, this is probably leading up to be one of like the top WrestleManias we've seen for a while. So I'm obviously looking forward to where each wrestler's path's gonna go, where Seth's path's gonna go. Maybe he'll lose. Actually, I think he is gonna lose. I think that's like kind of 100%. I do hope we see him lose just so we can get all hailed up. It's just there's so many
Mhm.
possibilities in that main event match that
Yeah.
we can see, whether it's Drew, like you said, throw Sammy in there. Maybe it's Sammy. Maybe Priest cashes in
Mhm.
either before or after the match. I think it would be after though to make more sense of it. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. But we got to remember there's a possibility that Seth is working double duty. Night one, we might see Cody Rhodes and Seth take on The Rock and Roman in night one of Mania. So if they carry that on, maybe Seth will be worn out, maybe he'll be really tired. He won't be at 100% going into the World Heavyweight Championship match. So I think, like we said, I think it's a very, very high chance, almost guaranteed, that we see a new champion at WrestleMania. I think it's
Yeah,
going to be Drew, though.
yeah. At the end of the day, obviously my picks would be Drew or Damian Priest. Obviously, wherever Seth Rollins goes, maybe he takes time off, comes back, looks for that title again. But it's going to be very interesting come that match for that world heavyweight title. So I think everyone's
Yeah.
looking forward to it, and obviously, there's so many storylines that can happen from here that I guess we're
Hmm.
just gonna have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
to end the show, we got our final champion, obviously the longest reigning of the company,
Oh God.
Roman Reigns. I
Yeah,
think
Roman
there's
Reigns.
about like 100 things we could ramble from this, but obviously he has that match with Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes is that guy that's finally gonna put an end to it. Obviously, with the feud with The Rock, I think it's a complete. Um, I think Cody. Actually, I think The Rock's a secret agent right now for Cody, and I think The Rock is gonna be a pretty big reason why we see Cody Rhodes win the title. Obviously, we did see this past upcoming Raws. Cody's gonna have a lot of help this time. It's not just gonna be him. He's gonna have
Yeah.
Seth. He's gonna have possibly Jay, possibly other people like Sammy. But I
Mm-hmm.
do think Cody's that guy that's gonna end that long reign. That I think it's like 24. It's not even that many title defenses in 3 years. So
Yeah.
obviously Cody's that guy.
Yeah. You know, on SmackDown last week, we saw the return of heel Rock, Hollywood Rock, joining the bloodline with Roman Reigns. And what we saw, what the fans talking about is The Rock calling Cody Rhodes a loser. But when he was calling him a loser, he was actually pointing at Roman Reigns, saying you're going to come out of WrestleMania, what you are, which is a loser. Um, I think what you said is correct. I think we see The Rock working as a double agent, kind of going in the bloodline, making Roman Reigns believe he's on his side. And then we see Roman maybe eat a rock bottom at WrestleMania and lose his title, which I hope happens. I really hope this happens. There's other fans speculating, which I really hope doesn't happen, is that they have Roman Reigns try to beat Hogan's record, which would lead us all the way past SummerSlam into, you know, um, Clash of the Castle era at that area. And that's all the way in September. Um, I really hope that doesn't happen at all. I'm a Cody crybaby. I'll admit it. I want Cody to win. I want to see him succeed. The story's been over 2 years now. We've seen him come back at Hell in the Cell in 2022, and the whole reason was his father. Remember, with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins came out wearing the Dusty Rhodes, polka dotted shirt, and it's always been for his father. It's always been to finish that story that his father never got to finish, being the head of the company, being that top champion. So maybe maybe we see it. I really, really hope we do. I think it's a very high chance we do. And with The Rock working double duty, working as the inside man, inside job, helping Cody Rhodes. So, and like you said earlier, Cody Rhodes kind of building the Avengers. He has Sami Zayn, he has Jay, he has Seth. Um, he might have Kevin Owens. Anybody that has history with the bloodline can really help Cody Rhodes out here. And that's almost the entire roster. Everybody has had issues with the bloodline, like everybody. And he can gather all of them up to help him finally dethrone Roman Reigns. And yeah, I think it's gonna be Cody Rhodes. Hopefully, I have my fingers crossed. We finally see the end of this reign, and it's been legendary. I won't make it seem like it's not. Roman Reigns been champion for like 1,300 days. Like over 3 years as a champion with what 20, like you said, like 24, maybe somewhere in the 20s with defense. So I think when we see that, we see Cody Rhodes do that. I think Roman Reigns deserves an ovation. Roman Reigns he's been putting in a lot of work, rebuilding his character, showing this. And we got to remember, we've seen Roman Reigns kind of like when he comes out on SmackDown, the fans go crazy for him. We never boo him. We never make him seem like a bad guy. We all love Roman Reigns. We all know how good he is. How capable he is. Just We all want change after this time, and Cody Rhodes being that top guy is going to satisfy all of us. And I think that match is going to be incredible at Mania. You know, Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns 2 is what we need. It's going to feed families for generations. It's going to be an incredible match. And I'll put my money on Cody Rhodes beating Roman Reigns.
Yeah, obviously we both agree on that. Just a small question. We've seen in the past with, Kofi Mania, with Daniel Bryan, obviously when they won their titles, we saw the whole locker rooms come out for them. So obviously with this hate that everyone in the locker room has with the bloodline, do you think there's a possibility that if Cody does win, that we'll see like a lot of those superstars come out to like congratulate him?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much, yeah. I think that same thing's happened with what you said with Daniel Bryan back in like 2014. Him finally winning the championship. I think we're gonna see a bunch of pyro. You know, we're gonna see fireworks. We're gonna see all the confetti coming down. And like you said, I think we're gonna see the locker room come out to congratulate Cody, but at the same time, they're not gonna say it, but they're also gonna be congratulating Roman Reigns too. You know, Roman Reigns being the champion for 3 years. And like we all said, and what we all were reading, he might be taking a long break after this. He might be gone for the better part of like 5, maybe 4 or 5 months out of the company. So it's kind of like a farewell to Roman Reigns for a little bit, but also congratulating Cody Rhodes for finally having his accomplishment, being champion, being the head of the company, being that top guy. Um, Do I think his championship reign is going to be as long as Roman Reigns? No, I don't. I think Cody Rhodes is going to be a workhorse champion. I think he's going to maybe have it for about a year or so. I think we might see him have it until maybe next year's Mania. But I think having Cody Rhodes win might start us actually off in a new era. Um, I think we're going to start off with the workhorse champion becoming the main thing. You know, we're not going to see part timers anymore. I think Gunther's gonna lose his two. Logan Paul loses too. I think we're gonna see the new era, the new generation of full-time performers becoming the champion, and being workhorses. You know, carrying that belt, elevating it to new heights. Man, we're gonna be on a wild ride. 2024 is the year of full-time workhorse champions. I'm calling it right now.
Yep, and to finish off this show, do you think Mania we see every champion that walks in there lose their belts?
Yes, yeah, I do. The only one that I'm kind of not certain on is Gunther. You know, Gunther's reign might continue on until Bash in Berlin. You know, that at the end of August. We might see Ilya Dragunov actually dethrone him, or before that at SummerSlam, maybe Sheamus or Braun Breaker. Gunther he's a very interesting one. You know, he's been champion for about a year now, well, over a year now, like 500 days. Um, so I think every other champion is losing. Logan Paul's gonna lose. Bailey, I mean Io Sky to Bailey, Rhea, Roman, Seth. Um, but I think the odd one out, the oddball, is Gunther. But everyone else, yes, I think is gonna lose their belt.
Yeah, obviously looking forward to this Mania. Obviously, we got to get through the Chamber first, but I think this is going to be one of the best Manias we've seen in obviously a long time. There's a lot of good matches on this card, a lot of good champions, a lot of good feuds. So I'm really looking
Yep.
forward to this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. And next time we hop on here, next time we hop on the podcast, probably gonna be it right after the night after the chamber, right?
Yeah, we'll
Hop on
be
here
on
and do a
here.
review.
Yeah, Saturday, probably regular time. Saturday, like 7.
Yep, yep, man. We can't wait to talk about the chamber. You know, maybe some surprises we'll see. Some big things might happen. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. So next time you see us, we'll be actually just in like 2 days. We
Yeah.
obviously are looking forward to that. Can't wait to see who wins that, and um, we'll see you guys Saturday night. We'll probably have that episode 3 out.
Yep. See you guys then. Can't wait.